Okay, in this video we're going to write a recursive function, and recursion is when a method calls itself until it doesn't. And that definition might seem a little strange, but the best way is just to kind of give you an example here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function. It's just going to be a void function called print number. And it's going to take in, an integer called number. And simply going to print that out to the console. So standard, and we'll do a new line too, like so. Okay, so we all know how to call this function now, and I can just call print number, and if I pass in a 6, it will print a 6. But what if I wanted to count down from 6 all the way down to 0? Well, we know how to do that too because we've done looping, and I absolutely could write this in a for loop. I could say for int I equals 6, I greater than or equal to 0, I minus minus, and then I could just pass in my I variable, and that's fine. That would work just fine. I don't know why it's erroring. Too few arguments. It's right. It's just, it'll go away. Anyway, so that would work just fine. However, we can do this in a recursive way and then not have the need for the loop. So let's take a look at what that would look like. Is we can say if number is greater than 0, print number minus 1. All right, and then I don't need this, and I have to pass my 6 back in. So let's run that and see what happens. And there we go, we get our 6 to our 0. So how did that work? Well, what happened is we made this function, print number, call itself recursively. Okay, so recurse, the word comes from reoccur, and so maybe I'll break it down like this. Oops. So let's think about it as what's happening in this case. We're passing a 6 in, it's printing it out, and then it's saying, okay, well, if we're still greater than 0, call the function again, but pass in 1 less than the number that you just received. So we pass in 6, and then we're going to call print number on 5. And then print number is going to get called, and 5 is going to get passed in, and we'll print it out, and then it's still greater than 0, so we're gonna call it again, and we'll print number with 4 this time, and 3, and 2, and 1, and eventually a 0 will get passed in here, and then our condition will fail, so we won't call the function again. So that's what I mean by a function that calls itself until it doesn't. You almost always see some sort of if statement or some sort of condition inside of a recursive function because it needs a way to end. Otherwise, if I leave this section off, it's going to go into the negatives and it's just going to keep printing bigger and bigger negative numbers, right? So it now has no condition. Eventually this will crash, and there we go. So we do need some sort of way to stop the function from running. But this idea of a method calling itself is recursive. So so that you have the code, I'm gonna undo my deletes right there, and there you go.